Summer is almost over. Training camp just around the corner, Roob. I'm excited.
I don't know if summer's almost over. Maybe summer vacation's almost
Summer
over.
vacation.
Yeah.
The summer's over for me once training camp starts.
Nobody's happier than Dave first day training camp.
I get a little like Sunday scaries a little bit, like just the feeling of like you're about to start a whole
Sunday scaries?
Yeah, it's like if you work a Monday job, you feel it on Sunday that you're getting close to the work week.
Okay.
Yeah.
We work every day, so I don't know if that applies.
Okay.
We work Sundays. Sunday's a big day for a football team.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Roob and Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. We're recording this one. We're not doing this live, but we know training camp is just around the corner. So we thought, what better way to get everyone ready for training camp than by going through some of the biggest position battles on this team right now?
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Anything else before we start? You just want to get into it?
Let's just go.
Let's start with the battle I'm most excited about. Cornerback. And in the spring, we got to see the beginning of this battle. And it's a fun battle because a couple years ago, the Eagles had all those young cornerbacks, but none of them were very good. This is like, you have all these young cornerbacks, but I think most of them are pretty good.
Yeah, I think possibly, well, I don't want to say all of them because there's not everyone on the roster, but there's a pretty good group of impressive kids.
So let's start at this position, and I think we all agree Darius Slay is a starter. He's you put him down in Penn, he's still here, he's going to be a starter. But the other two spots are up for grabs, the outside corner and the nickel spot. Which one do you want to start with?
Start with the outside spot.
Start with the outside and work our way in. The candidates for this job: Quinyon Mitchell, the first-round pick; Isaiah Rodgers coming off that suspension; Kelee Ringo. I think those are the three really fighting for this job.
I would agree.
Yeah. I don't know who's going to win it. I think like Quinyon Mitchell's a first-round pick. We know he's talented, but this team has shown some deference to veterans before.
Yeah, and it's funny because, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers is 25, 26 now, I think. Kelee Ringo's a veteran because he's in his second year, but he's still 21. But he was here last year, and I think that gives him a little edge maybe over Quinyon, over both of them because he was here. They seem to like that. They're comfortable with him. They know
Different
him.
Defense, though.
Different defense, same guy, same kid. Nick knows him, Howie knows him. They understand where he is compared to last year. I think that might give him the advantage. I think Quinyon's going to be starting next year and maybe this year at some point, but I just feel like Kelee might win that job.
Really?
I do.
It's possible. And I think it really will play out on the field. I don't think they've made a determination here. I still think Quinyon is going to win this job.
Could very well. And I think it's a good sign if he does. It means, I mean, look, they don't start a lot of rookies. Devontae, there's not a lot of them. And you got to really be significantly better than the alternative. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he's the first round pick. They want him to start, but we know this coaching staff prefers starting guys who were here the previous year. So, yeah, I agree. It's going to come down to who does the best job on the field. And I still think Isaiah Rodgers has a shot at it. I think he's third in that pecking order. But I think he certainly didn't do anything to hurt himself in the mini camps.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would prefer to have one of their draft picks win that job. But if like they get the camp and Isaiah Rodgers is better, and like it's clear.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's kind of an understanding that most likely Slay won't be here in 2025, and whoever doesn't start this year, whoever doesn't start the season, whether it's Kelee or Quinyon, has a pretty good chance to be starter the next year.
Depending on where Cooper DeJean falls in. And we didn't mention him among these three because I think his better shot is inside, but
right. He could.
Outside corner too.
He got reps there. He could win it. I think it's going to be really close between Quinyon and Kelee Ringo. You could very well be right. I think there's something about a second-year guy, who's kind of used to the NFL, understands the speed of the game. And Quinyon might be there. I mean, by training camp, he could very well be there too. It's a good problem to have. It's a problem they haven't had too many young corners in quite a while.
How do you think they handle this competition? Is it like one day for this guy, one day for this guy, or do they kind of change it up as they go throughout a practice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I kind of feel like they're going to change it up within practice.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think all right, today Keely Ringo gets the first crack, but then later on in the practice, Isaiah Rodgers is out there.
I think that's the way to do it.
And then if they manage Slay a little bit too, there's a chance that two of those guys will be taking first team reps, because Slay doesn't need every rep. He's
right.
A 33-year-old corner who's been doing this for a long time. So you can also get two guys out there at the same time.
Yeah. And I think the day that you see the same guy taking all the reps twice in a row is when they've maybe not made a decision, but that guy's in the lead. But I don't think we'll see that early on.
I think there'll be a heavy rotation.
Yeah, I do too.
And just by the nature of if you're playing in the offensive line, you got to kind of plug and play one guy until, but cornerback, I think it makes sense to take a look at a bunch of these guys.
And realistically, there's whoever loses this battle is going to play. Most likely, but it would take an injury. It would take an injury.
Yeah. It's not ideal to have a rotation. That's what they did at the end in the playoff game. They kind of got their hand forced because Keely had played so well and Bradbury had played so poorly that they ended up rotating. But that's not ideal.
No. Bradbury should never have even dressed for that game. You knew nothing good was going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was Coach Matty.
How about the inside spot at the nickel? I guess I'll give you the three names here: Avonte Maddox, Cooper DeJean, Tyler Hall.
Yeah, and don't count out Tyler Hall. They seem to like him, but I think Cooper DeJean's going to win that job. I think they like Avonte as a backup safety, a backup slot, an emergency outside corner. I think they like the fact that he can do a lot of different things. And if he's healthy and makes the roster, I think he'll be that jack of all trades in the secondary. But I think Cooper DeJean's got a really good shot to be the number one slot.
So do you think it's more likely that Avonte Maddox blocks Cooper DeJean or that Keely Ringo blocks Quinyon Mitchell?
Interesting. Both fourth round picks. I don't know. I think they seem to have made up their mind that they like Avonte to be that kind of all around guy. But things change. Yeah,
I mean, he was getting first team nickel reps more than Cooper DeJean was.
Yeah, he was. But he was also
in the spring.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I think any of these combinations is possible. I also think there could be. You never know what Vic has in mind as far as just different formations and different combinations. I think we're going to see every imaginable combination of cornerbacks in. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Quinyon in the slot in training camp here and there. Keely's not going to play in the slot, but I think there's going to be a lot of different combinations. He wants to see, at some point you want to get settled and have your guys in there, but I think he wants to see how the different combinations work together and who's going to give him the best shot.
Yeah. And in the spring, we saw both Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean work as that dime linebacker when they have 6 defensive backs on the field. So they're going to do some of that as well. And it's another way to get another player on the field.
Yeah, another D-back. So they have the depth to do that. I know it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, because these guys are going to be battling.
Well, there's talent now.
Yeah. And they're going to be giving the receivers really good work, giving Jalen really good work. Things aren't going to come easily to the offense like they used to. And it's going to make everybody better.
Give me your starting 5. Week 1, we're in Brazil.
You're in Brazil. I'll be in this building.
Yeah.
I'll go, CJ and Reed at safety, and I'm going to go Keely, Slay, and Quinyon. Keely, Slay, and Cooper.
Okay, so I'm.
Although is it crazy to think if Keely wins that job, we might see Quinyon Mitchell in the slot. I'm not sure that's the best way to use him, but he could do it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised by that.
That'd be one heck of a young group out there.
Yeah, I'd be surprised by that.
I would too, but I'm not ruling out anything.
Yeah, we have the same safeties in Slay. That's easy. Right now, I have Quinyon and Devontae.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think they'll show a little deference to Avonte if he's healthy, but like Cooper better be ready to play because he's the next guy on the field, even without an injury. Like you're going to play him. So I had them using the first round pick instead of the second round pick.
Okay.
But we'll see. I think it will play out.
Whatever happens, they're going to be better than last year.
Yeah, that's true.
Guarantee that.
How about linebacker?
Yeah.
We have Devin White.
We agree on him.
I think so. They paid him a little bit of money. Not a lot of money, but
what did you give him? Like $4 million?
It's significant for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have Devin White at one spot. Then you have Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, Oren Burks, Ben Van Sumeren, Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yeah, I'm just going to think that by the time September 6th, 5th rolls around, Nakobe's going to be the guy. And I'm not sure why he's not yet, but I just think it's too early to give up on him. And if he's not starting, then that it doesn't equal giving up on him, but it's awfully close.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's not to say he couldn't be a functional backup and special teamer, but I don't know. This was a guy that the team was really excited about not that long ago. So to make an admission like that will be tough.
And I just feel like he hasn't done anything to lose, not to lose the job, but to lose the opportunity to compete for the job. And he didn't play as a rookie. He got hurt on opening day last year. He came back and played a few more games, but he obviously wasn't healthy. He had foot surgery. I mean, he didn't do anything except get hurt, and he's never been a player who gets hurt. He never missed a practice at college. So I just don't see, if you were that high on him, like why you wouldn't at least want to give him a shot over Zach Baum, who's a one-year contract guy playing out of position, who's never been here before.
Potentially playing out of position.
Potentially, maybe not. And again, he looked okay in the spring camps, but I don't know what that means. But I'm going to go with Nakobe and Devin White.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Any chance any of those other guys pushes, like an Warren Burks or Ben Van Sumeren, Jeremiah Trotter?
I guess it's possible. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be one of those three guys. Two of those three guys. Yeah, but who knows? I mean, Oren Burks. I don't know what they have planned for him. I don't know if he'll be here or he'll be a starter or not here. I don't know. Yeah.
Worried about linebacker?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure they have enough. I think the fact that Zach Baum is taking reps with the ones. Look, maybe I'm dead wrong about him. Maybe he'll be a really good player and he can play that position. But it just seems to me they don't have enough there.
Yeah, and this is nothing new, obviously. We've kind of seen this in recent years. Last year, August 6th, they go out and sign Zach Cunningham and Miles Jack. You know,
Zach Cunningham still available. Played better than you think.
As we record this.
Yeah, that's true too. That was 8 months ago.
Next position, right guard. I think we're in agreement that this is Tyler Steen's job to lose. But if we're going to bring out the candidates, I think it's either Tyler Steen, Matt Hennessy, but Mekhi Becton is someone who I think you at least think about. And then we'll throw Max Sharping in there just because he's played in the league a little bit.
Yeah. I always think you're saying Matt Harpring. Remember him on the Sixers?
Yeah.
Max Sharping, Matt Harpring.
Yeah.
I don't think it augurs well for Matt Hennessy that Becton just comes in and picks up a new position, starts getting first team reps at that position that he's never played. Now, he's got the pedigree, his first round pick. He obviously embraced it, not a position change, but a new position. He's still playing tackle.
And this is spring football, so
yeah,
you know.
But I don't think that's a great sign for Matt Hennessy and bringing in Sharping. So two things happen there that tell you maybe they're not that high in Matt Hennessy.
Possibly. He was so in the spring, Matt Hennessy was getting second team right guard reps, which I thought was notable. He was not the second team center. They had Brett Toth there. So, I think if Hennessy's on the team, he's going to need to back up multiple spots. But I thought it was telling that he was second team right guard, which is the one spot on that starting line we have a question about.
Yeah. I'm not so sure he's going to make the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention Trevor Keegan, who is the rookie 5th round pick, but he was third team left guard in the spring. I think he's probably more of a developmental guy at this point.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I mean, I think Steen's going to. You brought up the point of can Becton compete for that right guard job, and I don't think it's that far fetched.
If you're Jeff Stoutland, you're like, we just got to get our 5 best out there.
Yeah,
he might be one of them.
Yeah, and Stout also spoke really highly of Tyler Steen, so I think they're in a good situation. Remember when we drafted our own Eagles teams?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. Yeah.
I think the fact that I took Becton because I could put him anywhere, and I think that's a luxury that Stout has.
Which is very funny, by the way, because a year ago he had the exact opposite label on him, Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, you're right.
All of a sudden, he's this versatile piece. Like
necessity.
Ask him in New York about that.
He's a guy trying to salvage his career now.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a first round pick anymore, so things change. But I think there's a chance, but I'm still going to go with Steen.
Yeah, I think it would take a combination of things. It would have to be Steen clearly not performing well, and one of the other options looking really good.
Yeah.
Like you would need both of those almost at the extremes to swap one out.
Right. And I think all things being equal, Steen would start. He's their guy. He's the younger guy. He's a guy in a multi-year deal. He's their own 3rd round pick. But if he's bad and Becton's really good, it's possible.
Yeah. And I think the potential of Mekhi Becton might put him ahead of the Matt Hennessy's and Max Sharpings.
Yeah.
I think the potential for him.
And he's still a young guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might have gotten something there.
If he ends up being the starting right guard, they have to have the 2 biggest guards in the league.
What if he ends up being a starting right tackle in a couple of years?
It's not crazy to think about. I don't know how the timing would work out. I don't know if you'd be able to keep him around like that.
Yeah. Well, if he's starting a guard, then you move him to right tackle, but getting ahead of ourselves. But look, you never want to overstate anything based on spring practices, but I think it's certainly looking like a good pickup.
Yeah. Next one, wide receiver 3. Now there's a chance by the time people listen to this, there's a new receiver in town.
Yeah.
It might be the best case scenario, honestly. But right now, we know AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. The third guy is either Paris Campbell, John Ross, Britton Covey.
Devontae Parker comes back.
Johnny Wilson, Anais Smith,
Joe Ngata,
Joseph Ngata.
Who else is there? Is that it?
I mean,
Devin Allen.
There's others. Shaquan Davis,
Devin
Calvin
Allen
Austin.
Julio's a phone call away.
Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Of that group, it's Paris Campbell.
It has to be just by default.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Which doesn't give me a good feeling. Maybe they just don't care about the position. Maybe they feel like Saquon is going to get so many touches and so many targets that it's going to render third wide receiver just not that important. Maybe though, but to me, if one of those guys gets hurt, then who's
that's almost the bigger issue. And Devontae Parker gave you someone who you could at least rely on a little bit if there was an injury.
Maybe they have somebody in mind. Maybe they'll call Julio if somebody gets hurt. Julio, stay in shape and bring you in if one.
It's not a bad idea.
Caught 3 touchdowns. But I just don't think they have enough there.
Which of those second-tier guys do you think could be the most fun one?
The most fun?
Yeah, who could like surprise you?
Well, I think John Ross would be the most fun, but I just still think he's a real long shot. I look at Paris Campbell's career. He was drafted in 19, right? The same year as J-Jaw.
Yeah.
Same round, same year. His rookie year, 18 catches, 127 yards as a second-round pick. He's injured a lot of these years, too. Second year, 6 catches for 71 yards. Third year.
That's not bad per game.
35 yards per game. His third year, he plays 6 games, 10 catches, 162 yards. So through 3 years, 9, he's got 360 yards, if my math is correct. 34 catches. And a lot of injuries. And then he had his 4th year, last year in Indy. He was okay, caught 63 passes for 623 yards and 3 touchdowns. You would take that this year from him. And that was the 1 year in his career he's played, he's been a starter and played a significant number of games. And then last year he has another terrible year with the Giants, 20 for 104. Averaged 5 yards a catch. And
that was a team that could have used some offensive firepower.
Yeah, 27 targets. So his catches per target ratio is pretty high, but they're all short. But then you look at who's throwing him the ball. Daniel Jones is, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if AJ could have a good year with him, but I'm sure he could. So, on the one hand, I mean, he's done it in a 2022 season. He was healthy. He was productive fairly. But man, that's 1 year out of 5.
Yeah, it's tough to really rely on that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of guys that they brought in that have that. I mean, John Ross doesn't even have that. That's why.
Yeah, he hasn't played since 2021.
Yeah, but even when he was, I mean, he never had a 63 for 623. He never had anything close to that. So I guess out of the guys that are here now, Paris Campbell just by default has to be the guy.
Doesn't make you feel great.
No.
And in the spring, Nick Sirianni talked about how the 5th skill guy isn't always a receiver, but it kind of is. It's 70% of the time you're going to be an 11 personnel. Even the teams that run heavy 12 and even have some 21, they're still living in 11 personnel. They're still living with 3 receivers on the field.
I know someone who's living with 12 personnel.
All right, let's take a break. We have some other positions coming up.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. All right, we're back, and we're up to second tight end. Dallas Goedert, clearly the starter.
Yeah.
After that, Jack Stoll no longer with the team. He signed with the Giants in the offseason, so it comes down to Grant Calcaterra, CJ Uzomah, Albert Okwuegbunam. Want to throw an EJ Jenkins in there.
McAllen Castles.
Good name.
It's a great name. I'm gonna go. I'm intrigued by CJ Uzomah, but I'm gonna go Calcaterra. See, they threw him the ball a lot at minicamp. It's not a lot to go on.
They did. Entering year 3 already.
Yeah.
Quiet career. Even when he was the second tight end for a while, didn't get much burn.
Yeah. Yeah. You start out with what are they looking for? I mean, whoever it is probably won't get a lot of targets.
Yeah, I think by the nature of that spot, he won't.
Yeah. So maybe they want somebody more of a blocker.
And that would be Uzomah.
That would be Uzomah. So you can make a case for him. Maybe I'll just go with him. I'll go with CJ.
He
I
changed that quick.
Can I change my mind?
He already did. I don't know.
We don't have any rules here, right?
No rules. I guess you're allowed.
And
what do you think of Alvaro?
He's an older guy. Uzama's like 32.
Mm-hmm. Veteran.
You
kind of know what he's going to give you in line.
Yeah. His biggest year was in 21 with his last year with the Bengals, 49 for 493, 5 touchdowns, got in the end zone. He's got 16 career touchdowns. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't want to go back and forth on this.
You go back to Calcaterra, you go to Alberto.
I'm going Cal. I'm a stick with guy. I got to go with my first guy. Go Calcaterra.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah. Sure.
Think Alberto has a legit shot? I mean, they kept him on the roster last year.
They did. It was odd.
I guess they traded for him, and Howie's like, keep him around. But
yeah. I guess he's got a shot just because I don't know. I mean, the fact that I'm waffling so much tells you it's not an easy, there's not a clear-cut guy.
Were you a little surprised they didn't do something else there?
Yeah. I thought they'd draft one. I think I had him drafting one in the 5th round. But I mean, Uzama was a 5th round pick. Calcaterra was a 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Was he a 6th? They must not put the position in very high regard because they didn't address it. And they've got some.
I mean, they've barely drafted tight ends.
Yeah. All the ones they draft end up being pretty good.
Yeah. They've drafted like 4 or 5 since Howie became GM.
Yeah. So Selleck was before that, but
Selleck was 09? I
think it was 07.
07?
I believe it was 07.
Since 2010, it's been Clay Harbor, Zach Ertz.
Clay Harbor, a friend of the pod.
Mm-hmm.
Avid listener.
Dallas Goedert. Grant Calcaterra?
Yeah.
It's not many, just like by numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. So tight end 2 doesn't seem to be a huge priority. So I guess Calcaterra is my guy, but you can make a case for CJ certainly.
Yeah. I understand why they let Jack Stoll walk. I don't think it's like probably not losing sleep over it, but he did what they asked him to do. It wasn't like they were trying to get him the ball. He was a blocker.
Oh, yeah.
How about running back 2? Saquon Barkley, clearly the number 1. And this isn't like an either or. I think they will get all 3 guys involved. But where do you think the pecking order kind of falls between Kenny Gainwell and Will Shipley?
I think it would be mostly Gainwell. They really like Gainwell. And like, remember he got off to a bad start last year. His numbers were way down.
Mm-hmm.
He still got just as many touches as ever. And eventually his numbers kind of righted themselves. I could see Shipley having a role here and there, but Gainwell, I mean, he's been doing it at a pretty high level. He's in his 4th year now. He's been a really consistent player, productive player. And, I looked this up. I did a bunch of research on Kellen Moore, and everywhere he's been, that second running back has gotten a surprising number of touches, even when, that's how they found out Pollard could play, because he would get so many touches, because Zeke was older. And, he
was an older, like 25.
Yeah. Even last year with the Chargers, Eckler got most of the carries, but most of the touches. But that other guy, Josh Walker, was his name? Joshua Easton Stick, Joshua Kelly.
Josh Kelly, that's right.
Yeah, he had 400 rushing yards, and only caught 8 passes. But it seems like Kellen Moore likes using multiple backs. So I think Gainwell's a guy they can trust, but I think they'll work Shipley in, and I could see him, as the year goes on, maybe getting more. It'll probably be Gainwell's last year here. They don't re-sign running backs. I mean, when's the last time Howie re-signed a running back?
Well, like Boston.
Yeah, but I mean, to like a multi-year. I mean, Boston's got a couple.
Do you think Kenny Gainwell's going to get a multi-year deal?
No, I just said I don't think he will.
No, I mean anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he will. Somebody will sign him.
I'm not so sure about that.
I think so, but it won't be here. I mean, that's already so. I could see by the end of the year, Shipley maybe supplanting him, but I think they'll start out with Gainwell.
I think there's a case to be made for like this position playing early.
Maybe. I think it'll be clearly Gainwell to start.
What do you think the role is though for that second guy? Is it like, because Gainwell has been like 2-minute, he's been getting some third downs, but Saquon should be good at all those things.
Yeah, maybe it'll be more like a series here. I think. Look, they're big on analytics, and they know that Saquon can't get 25 touches a game. I just don't think it makes sense from a production standpoint, from a health standpoint. So I could see Gainwell getting a series instead of being situational.
Okay, interesting.
Getting it like a series, maybe middle of the second quarter getting a series. Late third quarter getting a series, and just taking some of that workload off. And as long as he's productive, which I think he would be, I think he's a decent player. I think it would make Saquon better and make the offense more unpredictable. Bring fresh legs in.
Yeah, and I think those three will all play a little bit at least.
Yeah.
How about quarterback? Do you think there's any chance Tanner McKee can push Kenny Pickett?
I think it's possible, but unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they brought Kenny Pickett in to be beat out by Tanner McKee.
Probably not.
But I mean, we've seen crazy things. I mean, you can't hide from production training camp. And if McKee's significantly better, which I wouldn't really expect, Kenny Pickett, it should look pretty good in camp. So
we'll see. We talked about the depth at corner, though. It's not easy going against a second team defense anymore.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, he's a guy that started games in the league, and he's been okay. But yeah, no, that's a fair point. We'll see. We don't know who he's going to be throwing to either. I mean,
yeah, right now, like the second team receivers versus the second team defensive backs.
Yeah, that's a mismatch.
Yeah,
that's a big time mismatch right there. It's another reason Kenny Pickett wants the Eagles to really upgrade those wide receiver spots. So I don't want to be throwing to Joe Nagati here, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Kenny Pickett's the 2 to start out. I'll be surprised if he's not.
Let me give you one more battle.
Yeah.
Punt returner.
It's an interesting one. I still think it's Covey's to lose.
I do too, but they have other options.
They do.
Cooper DeJean looks good there.
Yeah.
Anai Smith was good there in college. Isaiah Rodgers could do it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked, but we've seen Britton do it on this level at a really, really high level. I mean, he was one of the top punters. He broke every franchise record for punt returning. He was one of the best in the league, one of the best undrafted punt returners in history. I'd be surprised if they go in a different direction, because now you're going with a guy that's unproven on that level. I think maybe that's one of the reasons we saw him get some work in the slot and catch some balls. Like, if we're going to keep him on the roster, because you can save a roster spot by cutting him, because he doesn't really do anything else. So maybe they're trying to see if he's a viable slot, so you get a little more out of him if you keep him. But yeah, you can save a roster spot by cutting him, because those other guys are going to be here. Yeah,
but at this point, like, I don't think they can play the game with him either, where you try to sneak him through to the practice squad. I think he performed well enough. He might get picked up somewhere.
Covey?
Mm-hmm.
I think he might.
Yeah, and I think like that gets overblown a lot. Like, who's going to get claimed? But yeah, he was productive as a punt returner.
Yeah, sure was. Yeah, and he improved so much from his rookie year. So I'm gonna go Covey.
Yeah, I love training camp battles.
There's going to be some good ones.
I think so.
I think wide receiver versus corner is going to just make camp so much fun.
Yeah. Which battle that we mentioned are you most looking forward to?
I'd say starting corner.
Me too. Yeah. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's like the heavyweight matchup.
Yeah. And they're both good. They're both going to make plays. And we're going to be writing down, wow, did you see
all three at outside corner?
Yeah.
Really, I think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Do they whittle it down to 2? How long do they go with multiple guys getting reps with the ones? It's going to be a trip, and that to me, that's the main attraction of training camp this summer.
Me
is
too.
That cornerback battle.
Yeah. Should be a lot of fun. We'll cover it every step of the way. Roob, I have some emails here.
What do you got?
And I do want to mention, feel free to send us an email. eagleeye@NBCUni. That's NBCUNI.com. We have it up on the screen there.
I just realized UNI is kind of like you and I. You and I.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
You can scan that QR code and get it there. Some questions. First one from Douglas. This is like some questions. We have a few questions here. So, but he buttered us up by saying, I want to say thanks for the podcast. Even during the slow days, it's engaging. I had a few questions, and here we go. First one, I'm clearly counting eggs before they hatch with this question, but if Isaiah Rodgers / Keely Ringo put together a solid offseason, does the idea of moving Darius Slay, Roob voice, Slay, he has it in there, Roob voice, Slay,
okay,
enter into the conversation? Slay is an aging veteran, but he's clearly our best option at the position.
I don't think so.
I'm not trading that guy.
Yeah, I'm not trading him. Plus, it'd be a pretty big cap hit.
I don't think the money even makes sense.
No, it would be a huge cap hit, and still be a big cap hit after the season. But before, no, and you're not going to go with that many untested corners. Yeah. He's got tremendous value teaching those guys, working with them, and he's might be their best defensive player with Fletch gone now.
Sure,
probably is. So
you could argue that last year too.
Could make that case.
Which cornerback is most likely to get traded?
I think it's Rodgers, pretty clearly.
Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think Eli Ricks is possible. I think Rodgers would probably bring back more right now.
Yeah, I would think so. We haven't talked about Ricks all summer, really.
Yeah, he's kind of the forgotten guy. I saw some really good signs from him last year, but unfortunately for him, like, there are new bodies, and those bodies are pretty good at this.
Yeah.
So, it's a tough spot for him to be in, where early, like, he played more than Keely Ringo
sure did
early on.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything to, like, lose his standing.
Yeah.
But Keely came on strong at the end of last year, and they have Isaiah Rodgers back. They draft Quinyon Mitchell, and they draft Cooper DeJean, and all of a sudden Eli Ricks is like way down on the depth chart.
Yeah, I do think he can play slot.
I seem like a guy like Josh Jobe, who was the top backup outside not that long ago.
Oh, he was their top young corner going into the season last year.
A guy like Zach McPherson, who was the backup nickel. Like, they are flush with talent.
Yeah.
To the point where there are going to be good players who don't make this team.
Yeah, and teams know that. So, I don't know what you could get for Isaiah Rodgers. I mean, he's a guy we haven't seen in pads yet, so we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Sure. But I think he would have some value, and I think a trade for a player is most likely.
Douglas has a lot of questions here, but they're good, so we'll go through them. Who are we going to overrate during preseason games? The darling of the preseason. This is one of my favorite topics. I think Johnny Wilson could be that guy.
You think?
Yeah. Because he can make one spectacular catch, and he's kind of like built to make spectacular mossing catches. He could do that.
I think it'll be Will Shipley.
Oh.
And I don't mean overrated because but I think I could see him busting a couple long runs, and everyone kind of like, hey, let's trade Saquon. Yeah.
I like that. It's normally a receiver, but a running back has the
and they'll throw to him
to do it.
They'll throw to him. So we might see him getting the ball out of the backfield more than we see him running in camp.
Another sneaky one that caught my eye in the spring, EJ Jenkins, the tight end. I think he could make some of those plays.
And I could see John Ross bringing a big 50-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Can Mekhi Becton be the long-term replacement for Lane, or is he a guard / backup tackle kind of guy? And this is funny because we kind of brought this up earlier. I don't think it's crazy.
No.
He's still young enough. He played all 17 games last season. I don't think he played at like an exceptionally high level, but
yeah, it's just a matter of the contract. Like Lane's signed. Lane's going to play at least a couple more years, and Becton's only signed for this year. So, do you want to sign him to a 4-year extension?
Well, you're not going to do that.
Hoping Lane, no, but that's like so. I'm not sure. I think the only way he would be here to replace Lane is probably if he becomes a starter at right guard or something like that.
You can keep him there until you need him to tackle.
Yeah. But you're not going to sign a guy to starter money and then have him be the sixth guy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of do view him as the sixth offensive lineman right now.
Pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that's a good thing in spring practice when like Atlanta Dickerson's not there, and then all of a sudden you see Becton work in, you think, okay, he's the sixth guy. He can play either tackle position, can maybe play either guard position. That's good versatility.
Yeah. Just like with the Jets. The Jets have to be asking themselves, and I'll tell you what, I like Joe Douglas. He's a good guy, but like, don't you would think they might exhaust all possibilities with the guy, but again,
I think his situation is different,
I guess,
now. And the team situation is different here.
Yeah,
and maybe he's just like a different guy.
Maybe.
Yeah. Next thing from Lou, and this is just funny. He sent me a link. Hakeem Butler, the UFL Offensive Player of the Year.
Wow.
Guess they knew of his talent prior to him becoming great. Always a good pod when you can reference his name. Hakeem Butler is one of my favorite names to reference. Doug was just hell-bent on throwing him that stupid ball.
It was just the worst play I've ever seen.
It was so bad.
In a huge situation.
Very weird.
Yeah.
This next one will end up being for you from Carlton. Hey, Roob and Dave. Big fan of the podcast. I listen often. I know how to pronounce that word correctly because of the podcast now.
Often.
My question is about Fireman Danny.
Oh, God.
Why did they draft him if he just didn't care about football? Also, was his age not a concern? I was too young to remember the pick, so could you please talk about the pick and the player? Thanks, and appreciate all you guys do. Now, Fireman Danny, I didn't cover that draft, so that's why I'm kind of
2011
throwing it to you.
Just it was only Howie's second year as GM, and
really Andy, right?
It was really Andy, but Howie was GM in title. Andy liked him, and they thought they could. They just missed. I don't think they make that pick if it happens today. I think I don't think the non-football scouting aspect was as, I guess, in depth as it is now, where how much does he really love football? How much does he want to be? Because that would have come up. He did not love the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told the story. I don't know, it was a coach or a scout. I forget who told me. They knew after one day that he wasn't going to be a player, after one day of practice. So it just wasn't there. And that the 2012 training camp, I think it was Lane wasn't here yet, but I think it was Mathis and Kelsey kind of made him their project. Like, we're going to get him, we're going to get this guy in, and we're going to kind of mold him into a real NFL player. And they failed.
Yeah. It's a shame because I think there was talent in there.
There was, I'm not sure how much, but he just had no interest in football.
Yeah. And it's like
you can't fake it in this game. Maybe some games you can fake it. Some sports you can fake it. Can't fake it in football.
Yeah. And the age thing was like, he really better be a plug and play guard if you're going to draft an old guard.
Yeah. They just blew it.
Yeah. Bad pick all around.
But they made up for it in the 6th round.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Like, if they'd taken Kelsey in the 1st round and Fireman Danny in the 6th round, it's a great draft.
Exactly. Next one, last one here today from Joe. Confess your sins. What's the worst Eagles take you've had? Love the show.
Oh, that's a great question.
It is a good one. I have one at the ready.
Okay, I think I have one too.
Okay, do you want to go? I was going to give you some.
Well, I have 2 that are co.
Okay.
Well, and in 1988, I was ripping them for drafting Keith Jackson.
Oh, you mentioned
13th overall. It's like he caught 10 passes in college. And he caught 88 his rookie year for like 800 yards and 11 touchdowns. They didn't have a quarterback at Oklahoma. They never threw the ball, but the Eagles had seen when, the traits, and that when he did catch the ball, he was a weapon with the ball in his hands. They scouted their practices, so they knew who he was. And I didn't. And that one, and Mike Bellamy, who was the 2nd round pick the year they drafted Fred Barnett and Calvin Williams. I loved Mike Bellamy. He had played at Illinois. I thought he was the most polished out of the 3. Had great hands. Never caught a ball in the NFL. And obviously Freddie and Calvin did. So those are probably my two worst takes.
Okay. I don't have a draft one. My take was that I think I actually wrote this. It's probably somewhere.
I'll find it.
Thanks. I think it was like early in the Carson Wentz career here. And I think I wrote that Carson was going to go down or had the chance to go down as like one of the most popular athletes in franchise history. And like at the time, I think it made a lot of sense. He was like an MVP caliber.
Was that like 2020? You wrote that?
I think probably a little before that. But yeah, he was like second overall pick. I always found like the process they went through to get Carson just fascinating.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, I want to write a book about this one day.
Yeah.
Because I thought like, man, they went through these exhaustive lengths to find their franchise quarterback, and they found this guy. They went up and they got him. And it all started off so great, and then the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
It might still be a good book, but not what I thought it was going to be.
I just thought of another one much more recent. I wrote a column when Travis Fulgham was having his run. Remember that?
Yeah.
I wrote
real deal.
Yeah, he's the real deal. The Eagles just stole a receiver. This guy's going to I'll have to find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really talked him up. I was convinced.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fun. There's look, you're going to be wrong sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing. It's like early in both of our careers, I don't think we were asked to give opinions as much, but now it's kind of like, part of the gig is you give opinions, and they're not always going to be right.
Yeah. And often they're going to be worse than wrong.
Yeah. Often they will be.
Often.
All right. That's all we have. If you want to send us an email there, eagleeye@nbcuni.com. Any final words, Roob?
No, it's crazy that, well, I guess, yes. This will be the Eagles.
No, he says as he continues to talk.
This will be the Eagles' 12th training camp away from Lehigh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still miss it?
I do. I loved it up there.
Now, as you get like further away from it, do you think the nostalgia is kind of clouding your mind a little bit?
Maybe. But the things I liked about it, I really miss. I mean, just the access we had to the players. Now, maybe we wouldn't have that anymore. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times after special teams practice, I'd stand on the field with Harbaugh for an hour, just talking football, life. We don't have that anymore. I just love the closeness. I love the way the fans had that great access. Now fans can't watch that stuff.
Yeah, it was fun to have an audience.
Yeah,
for those practices,
and they did such a great job, like the marketing department, making it fun. Kids, they had that whole like entranceway. They had the team store and all that stuff. And I just like the area. It was always cooler up there. You're up in the hills. The campus
didn't always feel cooler though. There were some hot days.
Well, there were hot days, but if it was 85 there, it was 95 here.
True.
And it's just a beautiful area, beautiful campus.
Yeah, I haven't been back that way.
Deja Brew, lunch at Deja Brew.
Have you been back there?
Yeah.
Since then?
Once in a while. I went to Music Fest 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I popped in the bookstore and walked around. I drove around the whole practice area. It's kind of weird. There's fields. They put in fields in that whole open area across from the parking lot that we used to park in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all like field hockey fields and stadiums and stuff. But I like the area. But really, there's no reason to do it anymore.
Yeah.
There's no two-a-days anymore. They have state-of-the-art facilities. Like when you can have your training facility and MRI machine and everything 10 feet from your practice field, there's no reason to be at Lehigh. Yeah.
I'm with you.
But I do miss it.
Yeah, I do too. A little bit. This is where I remind you guys, if you enjoy the pod, to please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor. Click that like button and subscribe there as well. That's it for Roob. I'm Dave. Training camp just about here. We're excited to get that going. That's it for now, though. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan.